The Knight of the Golden Arrow. There once was a vast and powerful kingdom, far, far away, and over this great kingdom was a wise and noble king who ruled and reigned with strength and dignity. This king was deeply loved by the peoples of his kingdom, and by all of his loyal subjects. Even though he was a great and mighty king, he was getting old. This troubled the king's loyal subjects because the king had no sons, only daughters. The king and queen dearly loved their 12 beautiful daughters, but as the king grew older and older, he knew that there was still no rightful heir to the throne. Surprisingly, the king himself was not troubled by this apparent dilemma, because he knew exactly how he would choose the next king. Therefore the wise king called together his inner circle of wise men, and gave them these instructions. "Go now, and bring to me 3 of my most valued servants. Bring my hard-working shepherd, who tends my royal flocks, and bring my courageous captain of the guard, who has risked his own life for mine. Finally, bring to me my beloved cupbearer, who walks closely with me, and who daily serves me." In haste, the wise men departed from the king's presence to search for these 3 servants. It was already evening by the time the wise men had rounded up these 3 servants and ushered them into the throne room of the king. As each of these servants entered the presence of the king, they bowed very low to the ground and cried out in unison, "Long live the king!" Sitting high upon his majestic throne, the regal king motioned with his sparkling gold scepter for the 3 servants to come closer and to approach his throne. With piercing, yet kind eyes, the king peered deeply into the eyes of each of the 3 servants. Then he passionately said to them, "Behold, the moment of destiny has come. The appointed time has arrived. The heir to my glorious throne will soon be revealed. Now, therefore, may it be known to all, both great and small in my kingdom, that by tomorrow morning, one of you 3 shall surely become my heir." Then he stood to his feet, pointed his finger at the 3 men, and said powerfully, "One of you shall rule and reign as the next king of this glorious kingdom." Each of the 3 servants tried in vain to retain their composure, as this absolutely incredible announcement fell from the lips of the king. The shepherd could not help but tremble from head to toe, while tears of joy filled the eyes of the captain. As for the cupbearer, he stared out the western window behind the throne as he tried to understand the meaning of these surprising words. Then the king went on to explain, "When day breaks tomorrow, I myself shall dub one of you as the Knight of the Golden Arrow. This worthy knight shall be the one to become the heir to my glorious throne. From that day forward, he shall remain with me in order to learn the ways of a king. And once I am no longer able to rule as king, he shall become the king in my place. He shall also be given the hand of my eldest daughter in marriage, and together they shall rule and reign over this blessed kingdom." All of a sudden, the king clapped his hands twice, and one of his royal attendants appeared before him with 3 magnificent golden arrows lying on top of a diamond-studded silver platter. The king pointed to the 3 golden arrows glistening on the platter, and he said to the 3 servants, "Do you see these 3 beautiful golden arrows? Behold, these are no ordinary arrows. They are arrows that have been endowed with a very special and unique power. They always hit their target. I tell you the truth. These golden arrows have been given the absolutely remarkable ability to hit any target at which the archer aims them, 100% of the time. In other words, whoever shoots one of these special golden arrows at a target is guaranteed that he shall never miss his mark." The king then paused and looked at the 3 servants to make sure that they each understood the wonder and mystery of his words concerning the power of the golden arrows. Satisfied, he continued, "However, my loyal subjects, there is one other very important fact that you must understand about these special golden arrows. The power of the golden arrow only works once, for after the arrow has hit its mark one time, it then loses its special power. That arrow will never again have its unique ability to always hit the mark. It will therefore become an ordinary arrow again after the first shot." Majestically, the king reached down and seized all 3 of the golden arrows in his right hand. He then held them over his head as he stood and proclaimed loudly, Tonight is the night of the golden arrow. For this is the night that your heart shall be tested by the fires of temptation, to prove which one of you is worthy to become the next great king of my vast kingdom. For by daybreak tomorrow, one of you shall surely become the knight of the golden arrow, the heir to this glorious throne." Sitting down, the beloved and highly esteemed monarch continued, "Each of you will receive one of these unique and powerful golden arrows, endowed with the power to never miss the mark. You shall also be given a bow that has been made especially for you. I am sending each of you out this very night to accomplish the mission that I myself shall explain to you. Be strong, therefore, and very courageous, for I am sending you out into very dangerous places in order to test your nobility, your bravery, and most of all your commitment to my commandments and to my kingdom. You must always remember not everyone who lives within my kingdom is loyal to me. There are many who are constantly watching for an opportunity to rebel against me. Therefore go forth now and show yourselves to be worthy of my glorious kingdom, by doing everything that I command you, exactly as I command you."
One golden arrow, one life to give.
The Dragon, the Cyclops, and the Giants. First the king called his hard-working shepherd forward and said to him, "O shepherd, take this, your golden arrow and your bow. Go forth and rescue all 70 of my sheep which have been stolen by the evil dragon that dwells in the lower cave of the great mountain to the north. As you know, he is a ferocious and deadly fire-breathing dragon that is feared by all who dwell around the great mountain to the north. My spies have informed me that the dragon has not yet done any harm to any of my sheep. Go quickly, therefore, and strike down the bloodthirsty dragon with one well-placed blow from your golden arrow. Fear not, O shepherd, for I myself promise you that this golden arrow shall not miss its mark. And remember this, that when the time comes for you to take aim at the dragon, you shall speak your command to the golden arrow, and the arrow will surely hit its mark. The golden arrow shall surely kill that evil dragon. Only beware, O shepherd, that you do not waste your one shot on anything other than the evil dragon. You must remember that you have only one opportunity to do exactly as I have commanded you. Once you have shot the golden arrow and killed the dragon, you shall return to me and bring with you my 70 sheep. Now go, do not delay. You must return before daybreak." The shepherd bowed before the king, took the golden arrow and the bow, and departed in haste. Next, the king called the captain of the guard forward and said to him, "O captain, it has been reported to me that a dangerous and dastardly wicked Cyclops snuck into the royal city last night. As you know, this evil and rebellious Cyclops has hidden himself within my royal city in order to spy it out. His desire is to gather information about my city that will help the Cyclops army overthrow my kingdom. If this Cyclops escapes alive, then he will surely report any weaknesses that he has seen within my royal city. His report could seriously threaten the stability of my kingdom. Therefore, take this, your golden arrow, find that evil Cyclops, and kill him before daybreak. When the time comes for you to take aim at the Cyclops, you shall speak your command to the golden arrow, and the arrow will surely hit its mark. You must remember that you only have one opportunity to do exactly as I have commanded you. Fulfill this mission exactly as I have told you, by bringing back to me the head of my enemy, the Cyclops. Do not let him escape. Do not trust in your own strength, but rather be careful to fully trust in the power of the golden arrow. Go in haste, and act valiantly. You must also return before daybreak." The captain bowed low before the king, took the golden arrow and the bow, and quickly departed. Lastly, the king called his cupbearer forward, and said to him, "O cupbearer, our enemies, the giants, who dwell just outside the western border of my kingdom, have just made a devastating raid on the royal vineyards near the western border. They have stolen the entire harvest of grapes, and they have kidnapped one of the queen's royal handmaidens, who was overseeing the reapers in the royal vineyard. Your mission, O cupbearer, is to go this night and rescue this damsel from the hands of our enemies, the giants. Your mission in the land of the giants is very dangerous, and much more important to me than you realize now. Your only hope of rescuing the damsel is this golden arrow that I have placed in your hands. When the time comes for you to rescue the young maiden, you shall speak your command to the golden arrow, and the arrow will not miss its mark. Therefore, go and deliver the damsel by the power of the golden arrow. Only beware that you do not waste your one shot of the golden arrow on anything other than the rescue of this young damsel in distress. You must always remember that you only have one opportunity to do exactly as I have commanded you. You too must return before daybreak. Go in haste, and return with the precious damsel. Fulfill this mission exactly as I have commanded you." The cupbearer realized that his mission was especially important to the king by observing the concerned look in the king's eyes. The cupbearer therefore bowed very low to the ground before the king, took the golden arrow and the bow, and quickly departed.
One golden arrow, one life to give.
Dodging the dragon. Within a couple of hours of receiving his golden arrow, the shepherd had arrived at his destination. He soon dismounted his horse near the lower cave of the great mountain to the north. The moon was full, making it very easy for the shepherd to see the mouth of the cave where the dragon lived. Just outside of the dragon's cave was a sheepfold, with all of the king's sheep inside of it. He counted the sheep, and was relieved to confirm that all 70 of the sheep were still alive, as the king had said they would be. The shepherd slowly untied his bow from his saddle, and carefully placed the special golden arrow on the bow. As he tiptoed cautiously toward the dragon, which was lying at the mouth of the dark and eerie cave, his knees were knocking, and fear suddenly pierced his heart like a poison arrow. His mind began to dwell on all of the stories that he had heard from childhood about this evil and powerful fire-breathing dragon, and all of the valiant men that the dragon had killed over the years. "What if the king is wrong?" the shepherd said to himself. "What if the golden arrow could miss its mark?" Without even realizing it, the shepherd began to slowly retreat as another doubt shot into his mind like a fiery dart. If this golden arrow should miss its mark, then surely this evil dragon would eat me alive, or worse yet, it might even burn me to a crisp. Fear now overpowered the faint-hearted shepherd, as he stared with empty eyes at the deadly dragon lying at the mouth of the cave. There could not have been a more ideal scenario for killing the sleeping dragon with the golden arrow, for it lay broadside to the shepherd, offering an easy shot at its vital organs. He could have shot the dragon a dozen times over, but sadly, the shepherd refused to believe the promises that the king had made to him concerning the special power of the golden arrow to kill the evil dragon. As the shepherd stood trembling and staring into the cave, he noticed that thick smoke was billowing high into the night air from the sleeping dragon's nostrils, as it breathed deeply in and out. The shepherd felt like a grasshopper before this great and awesome beast, as courage fled from his heart like a scared child. He then said to himself, "Is it really worth risking my very life by confronting this ferocious dragon? If this golden arrow should miss its mark, then I would be toast. There must be a safer way to replace the king's sheep."
As the fearful shepherd took another retreating step backwards,
his foot came down upon a stick that was lying on the ground. The large stick then snapped very loudly. The sound of the stick snapping awoke the fire-breathing dragon from its slumber. The grotesque creature jumped quickly to its feet and immediately spotted the panic-stricken shepherd. The shepherd screamed loudly as he was momentarily transfixed by the intimidating countenance of the dragon's ferocious appearance. Regaining himself, the shepherd swiftly turned his horse and dashed away from the dragon, hollering as he ran. The dragon let out a thunderous roar that sent fire and smoke billowing up high into the air above the cave, lighting up the night sky. From the light of the fire, the dragon noticed the shepherd had already made it to his horse, and was about to mount his horse for the escape. Instinctively, the giant reptile ran toward the shepherd, who was feverishly kicking his horse and yelling, "Giddy up! Go, boy! Go!" The dragon then sprung very high into the air, in an effort to pounce on the shepherd and his horse. The shepherd looked over his shoulder just in time to see the razor-sharp claws of the bloodthirsty dragon coming down from above, aimed directly at his face. That very instant, the shepherd veered his horse at a sharp right angle, and thus barely averted the dragon's deadly clutches. The dragon landed just to the left of the horse's hindquarters. The shepherd didn't need to kick his horse again to regain speed, because the petrified horse was now passionately running for its own dear life, away from that hideous old dragon. Finally, the shepherd and his horse began to outrun the deadly dragon, as it continued in hot pursuit of the two terrified invaders. The dragon began to succumb to fatigue, and so decided to launch a final blast of deadly fire from its gnarly mouth. It let out a blood-curdling roar, as it belched out an enormous, raging spear of intense fire that flashed like lightning toward the helpless shepherd. However, the shepherd and his horse were far enough away that only one small tongue of fire actually hit them. The shepherd screamed in agony as he felt the intensity of the brutal flame that burned through his cloak and scorched the skin on his shoulder. At the same time, his horse let out a painful whinny from the heat of the flame that completely singed off its long, beautiful tail. The dragon gave up the chase as it finally realized that the shepherd and his horse were too far ahead. So, the evil dragon returned to its cave and fell asleep again, dreaming of munching on the king's precious royal sheep and eating them all, one by one.
One golden arrow, one life to give.
Deceiving the dwarves. Once the shepherd was at a safe distance from the cave, and able to think again, he remembered that the dwarves, who dwell in the northern mountains, also own sheep. Thus he conceived a plan to approach the dwarves in order to strike up a deal with them, to trade the golden arrow for 70 of their finest sheep. Yes, indeed, I have a far better plan for replacing the king's 70 sheep, said the shepherd to himself, with supreme self-satisfaction. As the shepherd clip-clopped along on his horse toward the city of the dwarves, he began to reason within himself as he spoke aloud to his frazzled horse. "You see, old boy, I was right, wasn't I? That dragon really is too dangerous to confront. Why doesn't the king simply leave the dragon alone? I think that the king is just a warmonger. Let the dragon sleep is my philosophy. Why did I ever listen to the king's words in the first place? Why does the king think he is the only one who is right in this kingdom? So many of the king's servants read his book of wisdom, the Chronicles of the Kingdom, because they think his sayings are true, and because they think he is so wise. Ha! Not me. I know better than that. In fact, I have plans to write my own book of wisdom someday, and my book will be far better than the king's silly old book from yesteryear. Yes, one day when I am king, I will replace his book with my own wise sayings." The shepherd finally arrived at the city of the dwarves. The king of the dwarves greeted the shepherd and smiled mischievously as he said to him, "Since when does the king's royal shepherd ride on an overgrown pig?" The dwarf king then pointed to the haunches of the shepherd's horse, whose tail had been completely singed off by the fire-breathing dragon. All of the dwarves looked at the horse's backside as they began to laugh hysterically at the shepherd. The dwarf king then pointed to the hole on the shoulder of the shepherd's cloak, which had been caused by the fire-breathing dragon. He said to the shepherd, "Aye, my lad, it appears to me that thou hast been playing a game with fire, and alas, the fire most certainly won the game." At these words, all of the little dwarfs burst into profuse laughter again, as they surrounded the shepherd, who awkwardly towered over them all. The red-faced shepherd then snapped, "Enough of these childish jokes! Art thou the king or the court jester, my lord? Now is not the time for me to boast about my recent triumphs, and the wounds that I have received while valiantly fighting the king's enemies. No, my king, for now is the time for you to behold the glory of this magnificent golden arrow. You see, my lord, I have come to your city in order to make a deal with you that you will not be able to resist." The clever shepherd dramatically lifted the glistening arrow from his quiver and held it up for the curious dwarfs to behold. He then went on to explain to them in detail that this golden arrow was endowed with a very special power. "My friends, do you see that small bat that is flying over there, silhouetted by the moon?" He pointed up into the night sky as he continued, "Look way over there, at that little tiny bat that is zigzagging quickly across the night sky at about 200 yards away." "Aye, my lad, I see it," said the king of the dwarfs. "Very well, my lord. But do you believe that I can shoot that little bat out of the air with this golden arrow?" asked the shepherd. "Absolutely not. For by the life of the queen, there is not a man in my kingdom who could ever in a million years shoot that little tiny fluttering bat out of the air in the night, at such a distance as that. Alas, my lad, methinks that the fire has singed thy brain as well as thy horse's tail," replied the dwarf king, as once again his loyal subjects laughed uncontrollably at the shepherd. The shepherd then shot an irritated look back at the dwarfs, as he held out his hand for them to stop laughing. "Very well, my little friends, you shall see. Yes, we shall see who shall have the last laugh tonight." Slowly, placing the golden arrow on his bowstring with flair, the shepherd said authoritatively, "Stand back, stand back! Back away from this special golden arrow, for you shall now behold its amazing power, as I shall surely shoot that bat out of the sky." The shepherd then secretly crossed his fingers and quietly whispered his command to the golden arrow. "Oh, golden arrow, that lifts me high, strike down this little bat from the sky. Impress these dwarves with your great power, that this may be my finest hour." Then, totally disregarding the king's command not to waste the arrow on anything besides the dragon, he thoughtlessly shot the precious golden arrow in the direction of the little bat, which was still silhouetted by the full moon. The unfaithful shepherd knew that if the golden arrow should miss its mark, then he would only risk being laughed at by the dwarfs. However, to the shepherd's great delight, the king was right after all. The golden arrow did indeed hit its mark, and it pierced the small bat as it knocked it out of the air from 200 yards away. The dwarves were absolutely dumbfounded by the miraculous feat. They could hardly believe their little eyes. Awestruck, the king of the dwarves mused to himself out loud. "From the great snow-capped mountains to the north, even to the deep green woodlands to the south, there has never been such a powerful weapon as this magnificent golden arrow." The shepherd then retrieved the golden arrow and boastfully said to the dwarfs, "You see, my little friends, I told you so, didn't I? For my special golden arrow never, ever misses its mark. Wouldn't you yourselves like to own this precious golden arrow?" The dwarves were absolutely amazed at the impossible accuracy of his special golden arrow. "This amazing and powerful golden arrow would definitely give us the upper hand against our enemies, not to mention that it would also bring us great success in our numerous wild game hunts. Furthermore, my lad, since thou art in the service of the wise king, I trust thee, because I trust the one who sent thee. Aye, thy king has always been a good and noble king. Therefore, O shepherd, what shall we give thee in exchange for this special golden arrow?" asked the king of the dwarfs. "Oh, my lord, king of the dwarfs, I will trade you this magnificent golden arrow for 7 bars of pure gold, and for 70 of your finest sheep." The dwarves gladly traded the 7 bars of gold and the 70 sheep for the golden arrow. However, the wicked shepherd hid the truth from the dwarves that the golden arrow loses its special power after it has been shot once. Quickly the shepherd left the dwarves as he said to himself, "It will certainly please the king that I have traded the golden arrow in order to replace his lost sheep. Yes, indeed, I have certainly found a more efficient way of replacing the king's sheep. Surely the king will choose me as his heir when he sees just how shrewd and wise I have been in bargaining with the golden arrow. Of course, it is I who shall be the next king." This grandiose thought made the shepherd so happy that he burst out into joyful singing as he continued to lead the dwarves' sheep back to the king's castle by the light of the moon.
One golden arrow, one life to give.
Broken horse, broken heart. Meanwhile, with bow and arrow in hand, the captain and his armor-bearer were already diligently searching the royal city for the wicked Cyclops. After several hours of searching through many, many dark alleys, the captain and his armor-bearer came across 2 little blonde-haired, blue-eyed boys. The tiny boys were playing in the street by the light of the moon with a small wooden toy horse. The captain and the armor-bearer stood over one of the little boys and asked him if he had seen any strangers pass by his street lately. The adorable little boy put his toy horse under his arm as he stood up and looked at them with his innocent, sparkling eyes, and replied respectfully, "Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I did. Just a few minutes ago, as I was playing over there in that dark corner of the alley, the strangest thing happened. Across the alley, I saw the metal cover of the sewer lift up. Out of the sewer came an unusual-looking man. I saw him, but he did not see me. This large man had one big eye in the middle of his forehead. It must have been a Cyclops. My grandfather once told me about these strange creatures. He told me that a Cyclops is a man with one large eye in the middle of—" "It's him! It's the Cyclops!" interrupted the armor-bearer, as he looked at the captain with excitement. Then the captain leaned over and put his face directly in front of the boy's cute little face and said to him, "Listen carefully to me, my lad. Where exactly did that Cyclops go?" The little boy pointed with his tiny finger as he said, "Well, sir, after coming out of the sewer, the Cyclops quietly walked over to that fence over there. He jumped the fence and went into the barn next to that fence." Then the little boy hesitated and continued with a sparkle in his eye, "And, sir, thank you for believing me, for I really did see a Cyclops. You see, sir, my friend here keeps laughing at me because he thinks I'm telling a story. He was not with me when I saw the Cyclops. He does not believe that I really saw him." The little boy then looked over at his unbelieving friend and said to him with frustration, "But I did! I tell you, I really did see a Cyclops." Without taking the time to reply to the little boy, the captain and his armor-bearer quickly left the boys behind as they ran over to the fence and quietly climbed over it. Arriving at the barn, they peered stealthily through an open window. "There he is! It's really him! It's the Cyclops!" whispered the armor-bearer with excitement, while being very careful not to alert the Cyclops of their presence. There in the corner of the barn stall sat the huge Cyclops. He was facing away from the window so that he did not see the 2 men who were now spying on him. As the captain and his armor-bearer studied the Cyclops, they noticed that he was writing something on a large, tattered parchment. "What is he writing?" whispered the armor-bearer to the captain. "He is not writing," replied the captain quietly. "He is drawing. He is drawing a map." "A map?" questioned the armor-bearer. "Aye, my friend, by the life of the king, he is certainly drawing a map. Look closely. Can't you see it? He is drawing a detailed map of the sewage tunnels that run underneath the city streets. He plans to take this map of the underground passageways back to his army, so that they can exploit the castle by entering the tunnel systems. You see, my friend, the Cyclops army would secretly dig a tunnel under the castle wall by the cover of night. With the help of this map, they would be able to connect their secret tunnel to the sewage system under our streets. Thus, they would covertly gain entrance into our great city through the tunnels. Once they enter the city, they will attempt to overthrow the kingdom. Verily I say to you, he must be stopped. If he escapes with this map, our kingdom shall be in great peril." Surprisingly, the armor-bearer did not even seem to comprehend the seriousness of the situation, as he glibly replied to the captain, "Let not the heart of my lord be afraid. No, my lord, for fate hath certainly delivered this doomed Cyclops into your valiant hands tonight. At such a short distance as this, your proven bow shall easily prevail over this enemy of the king." The captain remembered the king's golden arrow. He recalled the king's clear command to kill the wicked Cyclops by the power of the special arrow. The valiant captain grit his teeth with determination as he readied the radiant golden arrow for the kill. So far, the Cyclops was still unaware of the presence of the two men. The captain held his breath as he quietly began to raise his bow to the window opening. He drew back the golden arrow, aiming it at the ominous Cyclops who was still focused on drawing his map. The captain valiantly whispered his command to the golden arrow. "O golden arrow, straight and true, strike down the Cyclops where I aim you. By your great power his heart do sting. Kill this enemy of the king." Just as the captain was about to release the arrow, his armor-bearer signaled for him to hold fire. The captain immediately relaxed the bow and asked the armor-bearer why he signaled for him not to shoot. The armor-bearer then explained to the captain, "My lord, there is no need for you to trust in the power of the king's special golden arrow to kill this Cyclops. For you are indeed a very great and valiant warrior. You could easily shoot a fly off the end of this Cyclops' nose at this distance. Why waste the king's golden arrow on this easy shot when you can handle this with your own strength? My lord, simply use one of your own ordinary arrows, and thus you shall be able to return the golden arrow to the king unused, along with the head of this wicked Cyclops. The king will surely choose you above your peers when he sees your ability to conquer the king's enemies by your own strength." The armor-bearer's words seemed wise to the captain, who had forgotten the king's commandment of not relying on his own strength. Therefore, he hastily put the special golden arrow back into his quiver and pulled out one of his own ordinary arrows in order to take aim at the Cyclops. Then, at that very moment, suddenly and unexpectedly, the door of the barn swung loudly open. The little boy with the wooden horse stood there in the opening of the barn door. He blurted out at the top of his lungs to his little, skeptical neighborhood friend who was next to him, "You see, I told you so, didn't I? There he is, the Cyclops!" The startled Cyclops violently whipped his head around in order to look at the two little boys, whose curiosity had gotten the best of them. Before they could blink an eye, the startled and angry Cyclops crammed his map into his clothing and grabbed his huge wooden club. He lunged violently at the two helpless little boys. Their eyes were now as wide as saucers from the paralyzing fear that gripped their little hearts. As the ruthless Cyclops raised his club over his head to smash the two little boys, the captain desperately shouted at the Cyclops, "Hark, O Cyclops, and forbear!" The confused Cyclops then lowered his club to see where the loud adult voice had come from. "Forbear!" the captain quickly yelled again, in another desperate attempt to divert the pitiless Cyclops away from the defenseless little boys. "For it is I, O Cyclops, who have come to kill you this day, and not those little boys. Come now, for I defy you, O enemy of the king. Come and fight me like a man. By the life of the king, I shall surely slay you this day." With seething anger, the Cyclops glared through the window at the captain and his armor-bearer. They had succeeded at provoking his violent wrath toward them instead of the helpless little boys. The fierce Cyclops instantly changed targets, surging toward the captain and his armor-bearer as they stood peering at him through the barn window. With several swift and amazingly powerful blows from his humongous wooden club, the Cyclops smashed and crashed his way through the barn window in order to engage them in battle. Meanwhile, the two little boys wisely scrambled away from the barn door and ran down the dark alley from the presence of the evil Cyclops. The one little boy carrying his toy accidentally dropped the wooden horse in the alley as he fled. Gripped with fear, the cowardly armor-bearer also retreated from the raging Cyclops. Like the little boys, he too ran down the alley, leaving the captain all alone to defend himself against the monstrous beast. The Cyclops swung his ominous club directly at the head of the captain, who ducked just in time. The creature roared loudly as it grabbed the captain under his arm with one hand and threw him like a rag doll into the air. When the captain landed, his warrior's reflex told him to immediately roll in order to dodge the club of the Cyclops. The club did indeed come slamming down to the ground where the captain had been lying. However, the Cyclops' club fell out of his hand from the force of the miss. Seizing the moment, the captain remembered that his sword was strapped onto his side. He quickly drew the sword from its sheath and desperately swung the razor-sharp blade at the Cyclops' large neck. Amazingly, the huge yet nimble Cyclops dove backwards out of harm's way. The creature then rolled to its feet and started to run away in order to escape from the city. As the Cyclops was running away, the captain looked down and saw his bow lying at his feet, with his ordinary arrow still attached to the string. Oh, how I wish that I had placed the golden arrow on the string instead. But now it is too late, he thought with anguish. Now he could only depend on his own skill, and he had only one fleeting chance to shoot at the Cyclops. The creature continued to run quickly down the dark alley, away from the captain. As the Cyclops ran down the road, it happened to step directly on the little boy's wooden horse. The creature smashed the toy into several pieces as the wood slipped underfoot on the smooth cobblestone road, causing the Cyclops to fall hard to the ground. "It is now or never," said the captain to himself. He did his very best to aim the ordinary arrow carefully at the Cyclops, who was in the process of scrambling to his feet again after the fall. But when the captain released his ordinary arrow from the bow, it completely missed the Cyclops, who then looked back over his shoulder at the captain and smirked at his failure. The Cyclops laughed at the captain as he boldly trotted away into the darkness and disappeared out of sight. Jumping off the city wall into the bushes below, he escaped from the city in order to return to his army with map in hand. Thus, the Cyclops had accomplished his evil mission of spying out the royal city, and the captain knew it, and so would the king. "Ha! If only I had used the golden arrow," the captain said to himself. "Then I would have surely hit the Cyclops, even though he was running fast and furiously away from me. My own ordinary arrow completely missed the mark. But the king's special golden arrow would have never missed the Cyclops. Why, oh, why did I trust my own weak weapons instead of trusting in the king's powerful golden arrow? Oh, what an utter fool I have been!" The captain hung his head in humiliating defeat and slowly began to walk down the dark alleyway toward the spot where the Cyclops had slipped on the wooden horse. As the captain approached, he found the little blonde-haired boy weeping over his shattered wooden horse that he held in his hands. "It's ruined. It's totally ruined," sobbed the little boy. "My papa, who is away fighting one of the king's battles, carved this wooden horse for me. And now look at it. It's all broken to pieces," the sad little boy exclaimed, as huge alligator tears streaked down his distraught little face. The captain's eyes also filled with tears, as he took the little boy into his arms and held him tight. Together the two of them clung to each other, and wept over the things that they had both lost that night, because of the captain's failure to obey the orders of the king. The captain whispered something into the little boy's ear, as he placed him back on the ground. The boy then smiled broadly at the words of the captain, and he winked at the little boy as he tweaked his nose and bid him farewell for the night. The captain swallowed hard, and finally mustered up the courage to begin the long walk back to the king's royal palace. As he was walking, he looked back over his shoulder at the little boy, who was still standing in the alley holding on to his broken horse. While glancing back, the golden arrow also caught the captain's eye, as it lay there wasting away in his quiver. Speaking morosely to the golden arrow, the captain quietly lamented, "Alas, O precious golden arrow, there you sit in my lonely quiver, glistening by the light of the moon, as if to remind me of my foolish acts of pride this faithful night. The king has given you to me, and blessed you with amazing power to fly on the wings of an eagle. But alas, look at me, this vigorous young man that I am, yet I have stumbled very badly tonight. O golden arrow, I have wasted your perfect power, for my own frail strength has failed me. And alas, O fair arrow, a knight and a king I shall never be.
One golden arrow, one life to give.
Lust for the giant's crown. As for the cupbearer, he finally arrived at the western border where the royal vineyards were located, and he guided his horse in the direction of the city of the giants. He soon arrived and hid himself behind some woods near their city. He dismounted his horse and immediately spotted the queen's handmaiden standing at the window of the corner tower of the giant's castle. As the cupbearer quietly stalked up to the tower, he caught the damsel's eye. He signaled for her to remain quiet and to ignore him so that he could devise his plan for rescuing her by the power of the golden arrow. Moments later, the cupbearer's jaw dropped open as he beheld the arrival of the mighty king of the giants himself. The king came walking majestically out onto the outer ledge of the tower, where the damsel was being held captive. All of his life, the cupbearer had heard many tales about this feared king. His face was like the face of a lion, and he was very tall and muscular. No wonder he is so powerful, the cupbearer said to himself. He then heard the king laughing as he told the damsel that she would never again return to her homeland, and she would soon become one of his wives. The damsel sobbed profusely as the king laughed at her all the more, and continued to taunt her with his evil words. Then lo and behold, the cupbearer suddenly realized that the king was wearing his famous golden crown. The cupbearer had heard about this amazing crown many times from childhood, but the crown was far more glorious than he could have ever imagined. As a child, the cupbearer's father had told him the crown of the king of the giants was one of the most valuable treasures in the world. It was a solid gold, royal crown that had been perfectly forged by the finest goldsmiths in the land. This amazing crown was studded from top to bottom with every precious gem imaginable, and it sparkled in the moonlight like 1,000 precious diamonds. It was absolutely magnificent. Mysteriously, the giant's crown began to mesmerize the cupbearer as he fixed his eyes resolutely on its exquisite beauty. He soon began to passionately lust after the beauty and splendor of this incredible crown. The cupbearer forgot about his calling to rescue the helpless damsel, as he realized that he could capture this splendid crown with one sure shot by the power of the golden arrow. He told himself, "If I shoot the king of the giants now, then he will certainly fall off the ledge of the castle at my feet. Since it is dark and my horse is near, I can easily escape into the night with this magnificent crown to take back to the king, and one day the crown shall be mine, for surely the king will make me the next king for capturing such a great treasure as this." With a heart full of dark desire and consuming lust for the precious crown, the cupbearer placed the golden arrow on the bowstring. He then began to impulsively pull his bow back to full draw, as he aimed the arrow at the heart of the king of the giants. Without hesitation or second thought, he commanded the golden arrow, saying, "O golden arrow, don't let me down. Enrich me with the giant's crown. The kingdom and riches shall be my part. I aim you at the giant's heart." His fingers were almost ready to release the golden arrow when he suddenly froze as he remembered the words of his beloved lord, the king. "Go and deliver the young damsel. Only beware that you do not waste the golden arrow on anything other than the rescue of the queen's handmaiden." Unexpectedly, tears began streaming down the cupbearer's cheeks. He relaxed the bow without shooting the golden arrow. As the cupbearer continued to weep passionately and grieve over his behavior, he said to himself,
Alas, O my soul, for I am undone. O wretched man that I am! How could I have ever dreamed of acting so wickedly against my lord, the king? My beloved king has clearly commanded me to rescue the young damsel with the golden arrow. Aye, he has indeed called me to noble service in his glorious kingdom, and here I am this very night on the urge of pouring out and wasting this most priceless golden arrow on selfish gain. May it never be. Far be it from me that I should sin against my lord, the king, by disobeying his commands. For he is worth far more to me than all of the riches in the world. Oh, how I love my king! Indeed, there is none so delightful and perfect as him. He has done me good and not evil all the days of my life, and he has always fulfilled his promises to me. Therefore I have no higher goal in life than to be his humble servant and to fully obey his perfect word. I would rather die than turn away from the king I love. I would rather drink down death like water than dishonor the king most high. For I shall surely obey his voice, and I resolve with all my heart to consecrate this precious golden arrow for the deliverance of the young damsel, just as my lord, the king, has commanded me.
The cupbearer was pleasantly surprised by the joy that suddenly brightened his heavy heart. This shining joy wonderfully replaced the darkness of the selfish desire that nearly overcame him. Moments later, the king of the giants left the tower ledge and disappeared into his castle. About an hour later, a jailer appeared at the tower door and took the damsel from the tower and disappeared with her inside the castle.
One golden arrow, one life to give.
Golden arrow, straight and true. As time ticked by that night, the cupbearer began to despair of ever having a chance to rescue the damsel, since the giants had taken her deep inside of their castle for some unknown reason. He remembered that the king had commanded him to rescue her and return before daybreak. Time was running out for the rescue. The cupbearer's heart leapt as the main castle gate swung wide open. Out came several giants, leading a long string of prisoners who were all shackled and chained together, one after the other. The king of the giants had given orders for several choice prisoners to be secretly moved that very night to his private quarters in the mountains. The cupbearer suddenly noticed that the queen's handmaiden was chained at the end of the line of prisoners. He immediately readied his golden arrow on the bow and waited for an opportunity to save her by the power of the golden arrow. As he studied the damsel's chain, he noticed that only her right wrist was shackled to the chain because she was the last one in the line of prisoners. I will aim the golden arrow at the chain connected to the shackle that binds her wrist, and thus she shall be free, he thought. Without any hesitation whatsoever, the cupbearer confidently aimed the golden arrow at the damsel's chain and gave his authoritative command to the golden arrow. O golden arrow, straight and true, hit the mark where I send you. The king has promised you shall not miss, so break the chain that binds her wrist. As fast as lightning, the powerful golden arrow launched from the cupbearer's bow and twirled through the air with perfect symmetry towards the mark. With awesome grace and power, the majestic golden arrow perfectly hit the bullseye and completely shattered the chain next to the damsel's shackle. Then, like an eagle swooping down from the sky, the cupbearer valiantly galloped up on his horse and swiftly lifted the handmaiden onto the back of his horse with one powerful sweep of his arm. One of the ominous giants ran toward the cupbearer and the young maiden in an effort to yank them off of their horse. Thinking fast, the cupbearer courageously slammed his large bow directly into the face of the giant. The giant was momentarily stunned by this surprise attack with the bow. The cupbearer's fearless feat bought him just enough time to kick his horse so that they could attempt to make a run for it. However, several other giants swiftly ran over and blocked their escape route. These monstrous men then began to angrily lunge at them from all directions. Giants were wildly swatting and swinging at the two of them as if they were trying to squash a fly. But thankfully, the giants kept missing as the cupbearer skillfully navigated his horse between them. The desperate young cupbearer kept weaving, for all he was worth, in and out of the nightmarish maze of overgrown warriors. Then, to their left flank, a raging mad giant let out a horrific war cry as he violently swung his massive sword at them. "Look out!" yelled the young maiden desperately, for the cupbearer had been completely focused on trying to direct his horse through the deadly labyrinth of evil giants. Just in the nick of time, the cupbearer and the damsel ducked their heads as the giant's murderous sword flashed just above their bowed heads. However, as the giant swung his sword, the momentum from missing the cupbearer caused him to inadvertently strike a nearby giant, who was just about to grab the cupbearer. The blade of the sword struck powerfully against the side of the stunned giant, causing him to immediately recoil in pain and fall awkwardly to the ground. Seizing the moment, the cupbearer kicked his horse and raced frantically through the gap where the injured giant had been standing. The young couple then galloped feverishly away from the savage giants. "I think we shall be safe now, my lady," said the cupbearer, in an effort to comfort the weeping young damsel who clung to him ever so tightly. The damsel anxiously looked back over her shoulder to discover that a lean and muscular young giant was running passionately after them with his enormous spear in hand. "My lord, look behind us! It's another giant, and he is running like the wind!" cried the trembling damsel. To their amazement and horror, the young giant began gaining on them. And alas, the cupbearer's horse was no match for the young warrior's gigantic and fast strides, which brought him closer and closer with each passing moment. Screaming, the terrifying young maiden said, "Oh no! He's catching us! Alas, we shall perish! We shall surely perish!" "Fear not, my lady. You must remember that the king's golden arrow has already set you free from the chain that bound your hand. Therefore, take courage, for we shall surely triumph, as the king has promised," replied the cupbearer victoriously, as he confidently squared his shoulders and grit his teeth with determination. The young giant caught up to them, ran alongside of them, and began taunting them with his evil words. He then pointed his huge spear at the cupbearer's heart, as he bared his teeth and savagely yelled to him, "Death for you is surely near, for I shall kill you with my spear." As the muscular young giant scoffed at the cupbearer, like a cat playing with a mouse before the kill, the cupbearer looked him directly in the eyes and declared, "You come to me with sword and spear, but you do not know your end is near." Then, without a warning, the valiant cupbearer powerfully thrust his large bow directly between the swift-running feet of the giant. The cupbearer held on to the bow tightly, while the giant's large feet came slamming together on the bow, causing the weapon to snap loudly. The giant then tripped and tumbled helter-skelter to the ground. Upon violently impacting the ground, the giant dropped his huge spear and lay on his back in a daze from the shock of the unexpected fall. Then, in one fluid motion, the courageous cupbearer swiftly jumped from his horse and grabbed the giant's own spear. With one powerful blow to the chest, the cupbearer pierced the giant's heart and killed him. The cupbearer then quickly mounted his horse again and galloped away into the night with the damsel clinging tightly to him. This time they had escaped, for the other giants were still trying to figure out what had happened in the confusion of the darkness. Once he and the damsel were safely away from the giant's royal city, the cupbearer looked back over his shoulder at the beautiful young maiden. Her face was covered with a veil, except for her charming eyes that sparkled at him in the moonlight. He said to her, "Are you okay, my lady?"
"Yes, my lord. Your servant is more than okay, for you have saved me from a fate worse than death itself. I will forever be grateful to you for this daring and courageous rescue. You may be only a cupbearer to the king, but to me, you are my knight in shining armor," she said, with a twinkle in her gentle and lovely eyes. The cupbearer was glad that she could not see his blushing face as he guided his horse forward. Her sweet and eloquent words touched him very deeply as he replied to her, "My lady, may our great king live forever, who has sent me by the power of the golden arrow to rescue you. To him alone be all the glory and honor for your deliverance. As for me, I am simply the king's humble servant, whom he has called and empowered to do his will." The twinkle in the beautiful young maiden's eyes now shone bright as the morning star as she soaked in the cupbearer's noble words. The young damsel continued to cling tightly to the valiant cupbearer as their horse peacefully clip-clopped toward the castle by the light of the moon.
One golden arrow, one life to give.
The Reckoning at Daybreak. Back at the castle, daybreak was fast approaching. Therefore, the shepherd, the captain, and the cupbearer all began to enter the outer court of the king's palace, and were awaiting the official invitation to enter the throne room of the king. The shepherd directed his 70 sheep into the king's royal stables, which were located in the outer courtyard next to the western window of the king's throne room. The cupbearer entrusted the beautiful young maiden into the hands of the queen's royal bodyguard. He then bid her farewell by bowing before her and gently kissing her on the back of her hand. As he walked away from her, he glanced back and noticed that she was still peering at him through her veil with those lovely, gentle eyes. But as for the captain, he simply sat in the outer court, empty-handed, staring sadly at the ground. His pain and deep disappointment were etched all over his discouraged face. He knew that he had failed to do the will of his beloved king. As time slowly ticked by, the shepherd and the cupbearer began to pace back and forth around the courtyard. They were fidgeting nervously as they anticipated their all-important meeting with the king. Moments later, the king's personal bodyguard signaled for all 3 of them to enter the king's throne room. Each of the 3 servants humbly entered before the king and bowed very low to the ground in front of him. Together they cried in unison, "Long live the king!" And behold, before them sat their majestic king arrayed in his finest royal attire. He was sitting regally on his lofty, white marbled throne surrounded by his most trusted, loyal servants, all of whom were dressed in their very finest regalia. The king then authoritatively tilted his golden scepter toward the 3 men as he stared at them intently. With royal dignity, he commanded them to stand up and draw near. The king looked deeply into the eyes of the shepherd, the captain, and the cupbearer, and said to them with passion and regal authority, "The night of the golden arrow has come to an end. The long-awaited moment has now arrived. For behold, the hour has come for each of you to give an account of what you have done with your golden arrow. Know ye therefore that before we leave this throne room today, one of you shall surely be dubbed the Knight of the Golden Arrow, and heir to this glorious throne." The king paused as all eyes fixed steadfastly upon him. A profound hush fell over the entire throne room. The king then looked down upon the shepherd and said to him, "O shepherd, have you fully obeyed my words? Did you kill my enemy, the evil dragon with the golden arrow as I commanded you? Did you rescue my royal sheep?" "Oh, may you live forever, O king," said the shepherd rather lightheartedly. "I bring tidings of great joy to your majesty's royal ears, for I have indeed restored the king's sheep without ever having to confront the dragon at all. For I knew that you were a shrewd king who values wisdom. Therefore, I have traded the golden arrow to the dwarves for 70 of their very best sheep. I pray thee, O my king, to look out your western window into the royal stables, and you will see the fruit of my labors for you and your kingdom. Are not these sheep the finest you have ever seen?" Then, without waiting for an answer from the king, the shepherd brazenly continued his monologue with an arrogant smile on his face. So permit me, my lord, to fully explain to you exactly how this successful plan of mine worked. You see, lord, Enough! I will hear no more of these foolish words, O unfaithful servant. Why, pray tell, have you so bitterly despised my word? Shouted the king, while jumping to his feet in raging anger as he pointed his finger directly into the face of the surprised shepherd. "O shepherd, I shall not be mocked, for I secretly sent my spies with each one of you. They have informed me that you cowered in fear before the evil dragon because you doubted my promise that the golden arrow would never miss its mark. To doubt my word is to doubt me, for without faith in me and my word, it is impossible to please me. And furthermore, O shepherd, if that were not enough, you completely wasted the priceless power of the golden arrow on a foolish and vain stunt. Why did you waste the golden arrow on the tiny bat when you could have killed one of my most despised enemies, the great dragon of the north? Moreover, you have given my kingdom a bad name by deceiving the dwarves. You hid from them the fact that the golden arrow's power only works once. Because you were in my service, the dwarves will no longer trust me. They will now regard me as their enemy because you have deceived them in my name. And why did you hide from me your greed in trading the golden arrow for the 7 bars of gold? My spies have reported to me that you have already hidden these gold bars in your house in order to keep it all for yourself. Is this not true, O shepherd?" Stammered the shepherd, as he trembled before the angry monarch. "Depart from me, you worker of lawlessness," thundered the king, "and take away from me these pitiful sheep that you stole from the dwarves. They are far inferior to my special line of royal sheep." The king paused, sat down once again on his throne, and then continued. "From this day forward you shall be banished from my royal city. Henceforth you shall dwell on the great mountain to the north where the evil dragon dwells, and where your friends, the dwarves, live. By now they will know that you have deceived them, and I am sure that they will be glad to see you again. O wicked shepherd, I know now that you are not, and never have been, a truly loyal servant of mine. Depart from me!" The king then beckoned his royal attendants and commanded them, "Take this shepherd away from me now. Go and cast him upon the great mountain to the north, where the evil dragon and the dwarves dwell, for he shall never again enter into my royal city. Away with this enemy of mine!" Immediately, the royal bodyguards grabbed the shepherd, as he began to loudly weep and gnash his teeth while they carried him away from the presence of the king. The king's penetrating eyes then shifted from the back door, through which the shepherd had just been carried, and rested on the captain who stood trembling before the king. "And now, O captain, where is the head of my enemy, the Cyclops? Did you obey my words? Did you kill him by the power of the golden arrow as I commanded you?" "May the king live forever," said the captain with his head held low. "I have no head to present to you, my lord. The Cyclops escaped from my hand because of my pride, self-reliance. I chose to use my own weak weapons to fight the king's enemies instead of carefully obeying your words concerning the power of the golden arrow. I have sinned against you, my lord, by listening to the words of my armor-bearer instead of holding fast to the truth of your word. Please, I pray thee, O my lord, have mercy on me, and please forgive your servant of this grievous sin that he has committed against thee." With these words said, the broken captain prostrated himself before his king. The king had looked deeply into the captain's eyes while he spoke, and he had seen the sincerity of his repentant heart. And so, with compassion, the king called the captain closer. The king then placed his hand on the captain's shoulder and said to him, My son, your guilt is punishment enough. You have told me the truth concerning your sad story of foolish pride. And furthermore, you have manifested before me a pure heart of genuine repentance. Therefore, I do completely forgive you of this sin, my son. However, as you must surely know, you have indeed disqualified yourself from being heir to this throne. Nevertheless, you shall remain in my kingdom and in my service as my trusted captain of the guard. Your armor-bearer shall be removed from his position and return to civilian life because of his rebellion against my word. And now, O captain, you shall remain in this throne room with me to meet your future king." With a sigh of relief, the captain lifted his eyes and humbly looked into the king's radiant face as the king grasped his shoulder to assure him of his love and forgiveness.
One golden arrow, one life to give.
Heir to the throne. Last of all, the king turned to the cupbearer and said to him, "O cupbearer, now it is your turn. Did you obey my words? Where is the young maiden? Did you rescue her by the power of the golden arrow as I commanded you?" "May you live forever, O king," replied the cupbearer with reverence. "May it be known to my lord, the king, that the young maiden is safe indeed. For by the power of the golden arrow she has been restored to my lord, the king. I pray thee, my lord, to look to the back of this throne room, and you shall see the young damsel standing next to the queen's bodyguard. She is alive and safe, thanks to you and to the power of the golden arrow." "Well done," said the king, with both passion and relief, as he stared at the young maiden and joyfully smiled at her. Before the king could say anything else, the cupbearer spoke earnestly. "O my lord, the king, please lend me your ear that I may share with you all that is in my heart concerning your choice of the next king. Your servant is by no means worthy to become the next king of this great kingdom, for your spies did not realize that my motive for aiming the golden arrow at the king of the giants was not for the purpose of rescuing the young maiden, but rather I aimed at him in order to capture his glorious crown for my own selfish gain. Alas, my king, I am no better than the shepherd or the captain. The only thing that kept me from wasting the golden arrow on the giant's marvelous crown was the love that I have for you. I have walked closely with you for many years now, and you have become my greatest delight. Your loving kindness is better to me than life itself. There is none like you in all the kingdoms of this world, none who even compares with you in wisdom and power and in majesty and strength. Your friendship is sweeter to me than the finest honey dripping from the honeycomb. My only reward is to know and obey you, for your ways are altogether true and right. To walk closely with you is worth more to me than all the treasures in the world. My lord, these are the things that stop me from wasting the precious golden arrow that you placed in my hand. May it therefore be made known to you, O my king, that I am not worthy of this great kingdom of yours. And, O beloved king, I want you to know that I do most earnestly pledge my full and undivided allegiance to the worthy man that my lord, the king, shall one day choose to be the new king in his place. And I will serve him as I serve you, with all my heart." With these passionate words spoken, the cupbearer humbly bowed very low to the ground at the feet of his beloved king. This time, it was the king's eyes that filled with tears of joy. "Have not I, even I, chosen you, O my son? For before the three of you left on the night of the golden arrow, your name was already being engraved upon the sword. It is this same sword that shall now be used to dub you as heir to this throne. For I never had a doubt that your faith in me and my word would endure to the end. Yes, my son, you have walked closely with me each day here in my palace, and you have indeed learned my ways. I have clearly seen that your love for me and my kingdom runs as deep as the deep blue ocean. For I knew all of this about you, even before I placed the precious golden arrow into your worthy hands. The shepherd pretended allegiance to me, but the golden arrow has proven that he has no part in me. My captain is a noble man. He is indeed a faithful servant, but he has preferred working for me more than spending time with me, getting to know my heart. As a result, he did not have the moral strength to resist temptation during the night of the golden arrow. But you, my dear son, you have daily served me and walked closely with me. You have listened to me, not just with your ears, but also with your heart. Therefore, during the night of the golden arrow, the temptation to grasp the world's greatest treasure cannot prevail over your love for me. Oh, my beloved son, last night the golden arrow tested your very heart of hearts. And behold, the golden arrow has revealed that your veins do surge and pulse with the blood of true nobility. Yes, my son, the golden arrow has hit its mark by proving you to be both faithful and obedient to me and to my word. You, my son, have truly shown yourself to be worthy of this glorious kingdom. The king then paused for a moment as he stared at the rescued young maiden in the back of the room. He then continued speaking to the cupbearer.
My son, there is something very important that you need to know about the young maiden that you have rescued. She is no ordinary young maiden. She is a princess. She is my eldest daughter.
Upon hearing these words, everyone in the throne room gasped with amazement. The princess then removed the veil from her smiling face to show her true identity to everyone in the room. The king held out his arms to her. She dashed to the front of the throne room and dove into the strong arms of her father, the king. Shouts of joy rang throughout the palace as the queen also came forward to hug her daughter along with the king. The king then held up his hand in order to silence the crowd. As the room quieted down again, he continued speaking to the cupbearer. You see, my son, the giants did not realize that she was a princess when they kidnapped her. She was the queen's appointed overseer for the grape harvest this year, but the giants did not know this fact. Therefore, after consulting with my wise men, I decided to keep her identity a secret. I did this in order to protect her from harm until she could be rescued by the power of the golden arrow. Let it be known to you, my son, that you have not only proved yourself to be worthy of this kingdom, but you have also rescued your promised wife and future queen. Together, the two of you shall rule and reign over this glorious kingdom. The king then clapped his hands twice, and one of his royal attendants brought him the special sword with the cupbearer's name already engraved on the side. The king took the sword and proudly placed its blade on the shoulder of the cupbearer, who knelt down before him. As the sword moved from one shoulder to the next, the king proudly proclaimed for all to hear, I now dub thee Knight of the Golden Arrow, heir to this glorious throne. The roar of the crowd in the throne room could be heard all over the kingdom. The royal servants all rejoiced with great joy over the king's wise choice of his heir to the throne. The celebration of the cupbearer's knighthood continued for many glorious days in the king's palace. The celebration was overflowing with delectable foods, joyful dancing, and beautiful music. Even the captain enjoyed the night's celebration. The little blond-haired, blue-eyed boy danced and sang before the captain while he sat whittling a small block of wood into the image of a horse, as he had promised to the little boy. Yes, everyone was full of joy overflowing as they rejoiced over the bright future of the kingdom under the king's wise choice of his successor. Then, in the middle of the celebration, the king and queen gave their lovely young daughter to the handsome young knight to take as his beloved wife and future queen. For the brave knight and beautiful princess, it was like a million dreams coming true all at once as they became husband and wife in the presence of the entire kingdom. From that day forward, everyone in the kingdom understood that the wise king's golden arrow had indeed hit its mark by unveiling the true and worthy heir to the throne. And when the day finally came for the kingdom to be given over to the Knight of the Golden Arrow, there was great joy throughout the land. And from the deep green woodlands of the south to the silvery shores of the eastern coastlands, and from the majestic snow-capped mountains of the north, even to the dreamy rolling hills of the west, there was perfect peace and tranquility as the new king ruled and reigned with righteousness and truth all the days of his life. The end.
I look down into my quiver and I see a precious golden arrow staring back at me. Then I place this golden arrow on my bow as I aim it for the king and let it go. Golden arrow straight and true, hit the mark where I send you. Your victory is promised by the king. Golden arrow, you must fly through the heavens, through the sky on eagle's wings, the king to glorify. My Lord the King, there is none like thee. In power and in majesty, I see you now seated on your throne, and I fall down and worship you alone. Golden arrow straight and true, hit the mark where I send you. Your victory is promised by the king. Golden arrow, you must fly through the heavens, through the sky on eagle's wings, the king to glorify. One golden arrow, one life to give, one gate so narrow, one life to live. May my life be straight and true. May I hit the mark for you. For I delight in you, Lord Jesus Christ. Here's my life, oh let it fly through the heavens, through the sky on eagle's wings, Jesus to glorify. May my life be straight and true. May I hit the mark for you. For I delight in you, Lord Jesus Christ. Here's my life, oh let it fly through the heavens, through the sky on eagle's wings, Jesus to glorify.
You have been listening to The Knight of the Golden Arrow, written by Robert L. Brannon. Copyright 2008. All rights reserved.